Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. And I'm going to start out with an apology. As you might see there, we've only got a still of Star of the Show tonight. I, always the technically inept, have not been able to get my webcam working for whatever reason. I've tried restarting everything. Oh well, I'll get it working for next time, hopefully. I've got another webcam for him as well now. We set up a wee thing called, what was this? It's called something like Little Robot or something like that. And you can connect it with an app and you're able to control the camera from your phone or your app. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Have some way to let you control it yourself. So if he's, I don't know, he's gone off into his box, you're able to move it and see him. Or to try to get a glance around my room, which isn't going to be very interesting, but you would have the power to do it. We're on Thursday, so we're reading The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. Big favourite book of mine. Not the favourite, but I really enjoyed reading this. And I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but for the longest time, even even after I'd read the book a bit, I'm so bad at reading. I thought it was called The Hunter Games. I just read Hunger wrong again and again until I was discussing it with one of my friends. And I mentioned The Hunter Games, and they were saying, "You mean The Hunger Games?" And I'm like, "No." Oh, I felt like an idiot that night. Anyway, we're starting on chapter 10. For a moment, the cameras hold on Peter's downcast eyes as what he says sinks in. Then I see his face, mouth half open, or I can see my face, mouth half open, in a mix of surprise and protest, magnified on every screen as I realize, me? He means me? I press my lips together and stare at the floor, hoping this will conceal the emotions starting to boil up inside me. Oh, that is a piece of bad luck, says Caesar, and there's a real edge of pain to his voice. Oh, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, obviously. Again, the previous chapters, I wasn't recording on brand again for being a general airhead, I suppose. I forgot to record it, so they do exist somewhere on Twitch if you go digging for it, or if Twitch has stored them, but uh, no, unfortunately, I don't have them downloaded, but I'll see what I can do about that as well. But it's all right. They weren't the most interesting of chapters anyway, so we got the big ones coming up. I press my lips together and stare at the floor, hoping this will conceal the emotions starting to boil up inside me. Oh, that is a piece of bad luck, says Caesar, and there's a real edge of pain in his voice. The crowd is murmuring in agreement. A few have given agonized cries. Yeah, it's not good, agrees Peter. Well, I don't think any of us can blame you. I'd be hard not to fall for that young lady, says Caesar. She doesn't know? Peter shakes his head. Not until now. I allow my eyes to flicker up to the screen long enough to see that a blush was on my cheeks, and it's unmistakable. Wouldn't you love to pull her back out here and get a response? Caesar asks the audience. The crowd screams assent. Sadly, rules are rules, and Katniss Everdeen's time has been spent. Well, best of luck to you, Peter Malark. I think I speak for all of Panem when I say our hearts go with yours. The roar of the crowd is deafening. Peter has absolutely wiped the rest of us off the map with his declaration of love for me. When the audience finally settles down, he chokes out a quiet "thank you" and returns to his seat. We stand for the anthem. I have to raise my head out of the required respect and cannot avoid seeing that every screen is now dominated by a shot of Peter and me, separated by a metre that in the viewers' heads can never be breached. Poor tragic us, but I know better. After the anthem, the tributes file back to the training centre lobby and onto the elevators. I make sure to veer into a car that does not contain Peter. The crowd slows our entourages of stylists and mentors and chaperones, so we only have each other for company. No one speaks. My elevator stops to deposit 4 tributes before I am alone, and then find the doors opening on the 12th floor. Peter's only just stepped from his car when I slam my palms into his chest. He loses balance and crashes into the ugly urn filled with fake flowers. The urn tips and shatters into hundreds of tiny pieces. Peter lands in the shards, and blood immediately flows from his hands. "What was that for?" he says aghast. "You had no right to go saying those things about me," I shouted at him. Now the elevators are open, and the whole crew is there. Effie, Haymitch, Cinna, and Portia. "What's going on?" says Effie, a note of hysteria in her voice. "Did you fall?" "After she shoved me," says Peter, as Effie and Cinna help him up. Haymitch turns on me. "Shoved him? It was your idea, wasn't it? Turning me into some kind of fool in front of the entire country," I answer. "It was my idea," says Peter, wincing as he pulls spikes of pottery from his palms. "Haymitch just helped me with it." "Yes, Haymitch is very helpful. To you," I say. "You are a fool," Haymitch says in disgust. "Do you think he hurt you? That boy just gave you something that you could never achieve on your own." "He made me look weak," I say. "He made you look desirable. And let's face it, you can use all the help you can get in that department. You're about as romantic as the dirt until he wanted you. They all do now. You're all they're talking about. The star-crossed lovers from District 12, says Haymitch. But we're not star-crossed lovers, I say. Haymitch grabs my shoulders and pins me against the wall. Who cares? It's all a big show. It's all how you're perceived. The most I could say about you after the interview is that you were nice enough, although that in itself is a small miracle. Now I can say you're a heartbreaker. Oh, 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 how the boys back home fall longingly at your feet. Which do you think will get you more sponsors? The smell of wine on his breath makes me sick. I shove his hands off my shoulders and step away, trying to clear my head. Cinna comes over and put his arms around me. "It's all right, Katniss. I don't know what to think. I should have been told, so I look so stupid." "No, your reaction was perfect. If you'd known, it wouldn't have read as real," says Portia. "She's just worried about her boyfriend," says Peter gruffly, tossing away a bloody piece of the urn. My cheeks burn again at the thought of Gale. "I don't have a boyfriend." "Whatever," says Peter, "but I bet he's smart enough to know a bluff when he sees it. Besides, you didn't say you loved me, so what does it matter?" The words are sinking in. My anger's fading. I'm torn now between thinking that I've been used and thinking that I have an edge. Haymitch is right. I survived my interview. But what was I really? A silly girl, spinning in a sparkling dress, giggling? The only moment of any substance I had was when I talked about Prim. Compare that with Thresh, his silent, deadly power, and I'm forgettable. Silly and sparkly and forgettable. No, not entirely forgettable. I have my 11 in training. But now Peter has made me the object of love, not just his. To hear him tell it, I have many admirers, and if the audience really thinks that we're in love, I remember how strongly they responded to this confession. Star-crossed lovers. Haymitch might be right. They eat that stuff up at the Capitol. Suddenly I'm worried that I didn't react properly. After he said he loved me, did you think I could be in love with him too? I ask. I did, says Portia. The way you avoided looking at the cameras, the blush. The others chime in, agreeing. You're golden, sweetheart. You're going to have sponsors lined up around the block, says Haymitch. I'm embarrassed about my reaction. I force myself to acknowledge Peter. I'm sorry I shoved you. Doesn't matter, he shrugs, although it's technically illegal. Are your hands okay? I ask. They'll be all right, he says. In the silence that follows, delicious smells of our dinner waft from the dining room. Come on, let's eat, says Haymitch. We all follow him to the table and take our places, but then Peter is bleeding too heavily and Portia leads him off for medical treatment. We start with the cream and rose petal soup without them. By the time we're finished, they're back. Peter's hands are wrapped in bandages. I can't help but feeling guilty. Tomorrow we'll be in the arena. He has done me a favour, and I have answered with an injury. Will I ever stop owing him? After dinner, we watch the replay in the sitting room. I seem frilly and shallow, twirling and giggling in my dress, although the others assure me I am charming. Peter actually is charming, and then utterly winning as the boy in love, and there I am, blushing and confused, made beautiful by Cinna's hands, desirable by Peter's confession, tragic by circumstance, and, by all accounts, unforgettable. When the anthem finishes and the screen goes dark, a hush falls over the room. Tomorrow at dawn, we'll be roused and prepared for the arena. The actual games don't start until 10 because so many of the capital residents rise late. But Peter and I must make an early start. There's no telling how far we will travel to the arena that has been prepared for this year's games. I know Haymitch and Effie will not be going with us. As soon as they leave here, they'll be at the games headquarters, hopefully madly signing up our sponsors, working out a strategy on how and when to deliver gifts to us. Cinna and Portia will travel with us to the very spot from which they'll be launched into the arena, or we will be launched into the arena. Still, final goodbyes must be said here. Effie takes us both by the hand and, with actual tears in her eyes, wishes us well, thanks us for being the best tributes it has ever been her privilege to sponsor, and then, because it's Effie, and she's apparently required by law to say something awful, she adds, I wouldn't be at all surprised if I finally get promoted to a decent district next year. Then she kisses us on the cheek and hurries out, overcome with either an emotional parting or the possible improvement of her fortunes. Haymitch crosses his arms and looks at both of us. Any final words of advice? Asked Peter. When the gong sounds, get the hell out of there. Neither of you is up for the bloodbath at the cornucopia. Just clear out, put as much distance between you and the others as you can, and find a source of water, he says. Got it? And after that? I ask. Stay alive, says Haymitch. It's the same advice he gave us on the train, but he's not drunk and laughing this time. And we only nod. What else is there to say? When I head to my room, Peter lingers to talk to Portia. I'm glad. Whatever strange words of parting we could exchange, I can wait till tomorrow. My covers are drawn back, but there's no sign of the red-headed Avox girl. I wish I knew her name. I could have asked it. She could have written it down, maybe, or acted out, but perhaps that would only result in punishment for her. I take a shower and scrub the gold paint, the makeup, and the scent of beauty from my body. All that remains are the design team's efforts, are the flames on my nails. I decide to keep them as a reminder of who I am to the audience. Katniss, the girl who was on fire. Perhaps it will give me something to hold on to in the days to come. I pull on a thick, fleecy nightgown and climb into bed. It takes about 5 seconds to realize I never fall asleep. And I need sleep desperately, because in the arena, every moment I give in to fatigue will be an invitation to death. It's no good. 1 hour, 2, 3 pass, and my eyelids refuse to get heavy. I can't stop trying to imagine exactly what the terrain I'll be thrown into will be. Desert? Swamp? A frigid wasteland? Above all, I'm hoping for trees, which may afford me some means of concealment and food and shelter. Often there are trees, because barren landscapes are dull and the games resolve too quickly without them. But what will the climate be like? What traps will the game makers have hidden to liven up the slower moments? And then there are my fellow tributes. I'm more anxious. The more anxious I am to find sleep, the more it eludes me. Finally, I'm too restless to even stay in bed. I pace the floor, heart beating too fast, breathing too short. My room feels like a prison cell. If I don't get air soon, I'm going to start throwing things. I run down the hall to the door to the roof. It's not only unlocked, but ajar. Perhaps someone forgot to close it, but it doesn't matter. The energy field enclosing the roof prevents any desperate form of escape, and I'm not looking to escape, only to fill my lungs with air. I want to see the sky and the moon on the last night that no one will be hunting me. The roof is not lit at night, but as soon as my bare feet reach its tiled surface, I see a silhouette, black against the lights that shine endlessly in the capital. There's quite a commotion going down in the streets, music, singing, and car horns, none of which I could hear through the thick glass of my window panes in my room. I could slip away now without him noticing me. He wouldn't hear me over the din, but the night air's so sweet, and I can't bear returning to that stuffy cage of a room. And what difference does it make, whether we speak or not? My feet move soundlessly across the tiles. I'm only a metre behind him when I say, "You should be getting some sleep." He starts but doesn't turn. I can see him give his head a slight shake. I didn't want to miss the party. It's for us after all. I came up beside him and leaned over the edge of the rail. The wide streets are full of dancing people. I squint to make out their tiny figures in more detail. Are they in costumes? Who can tell? Peter answers. With all the crazy clothes they wear here. Couldn't sleep either. Couldn't turn my mind off, I say. Thinking of your family? He asks. No, I admit a bit guiltily. All I can do is wonder about tomorrow, which is pointless, of course. In the light from below, I can see his face now, the awkward way he holds his bandaged hands. I'm really sorry about your hands. It doesn't matter, Katniss, he says. I've never been a contender in these games anyway. That's no way to be thinking, I say. Why not? It's true. My best hope is not to disgrace myself, and he hesitates. And what? I say. I don't know how to say this exactly, only I want to die as myself. Does that make any sense? He asks. I shake my head. How could he die as anyone but himself? I don't want I don't want them to change me in there, change me into some kind of monster that I'm not. I bite my lip, feeling inferior. While I've been ruminating on the availability of trees, Peter's been struggling with how to maintain his identity, his purity of self. Do you mean you won't want to kill anyone? I ask. No. When the time comes, I'm sure I'll kill just like anyone else. I can't go down without a fight. Only I keep wishing I could think of a way to show the capital they don't own me, that I'm more than just a piece in their games, says Peter. But you're not, I say. None of us are. That's how the games work. Okay, but within that framework, there's still you, there's still me, he insists. Don't you see? A little, only, no offence, but who cares, Peter? I say. I do. I mean, what else am I allowed to care about at this point? He says angrily. He's locked those blue eyes on mine now, demanding an answer. I take a step back. Care about what Haymitch said? About staying alive? Peter smiles at me, sad and mocking. Okay, thanks for the tip, sweetheart. It's like a slap on the face, his use of Haymitch's patronising endearment. Look, if you want to spend the last few hours of your life planning some noble death in the arena, that's your choice. I want to spend mine in District 12. Wouldn't surprise me if you do, says Peter. Give my mother my best whenever you make it back, will you? Count on it, I say, and then I turn and leave the roof. I spend the rest of the night slipping in and out of a doze, imagining the cutting remarks I will make to Peter Malark in the morning. Peter Malark. We will see how high and mighty he is when he's faced with life and death. He'll probably turn into one of those raging beast tributes, the kind who tries to eat someone's heart after they've killed them. There was a guy like that a few years ago from District 6 called Titus. He went completely savage, and the game makers had to have him stand with electric guns to collect the bodies of the players he'd killed before he ate them. There are no rules in the arena, but cannibalism doesn't play well with the Capital's audience, so they tried to head it off. There was some speculation that Avalanche finally took Titus out. It was specifically engineered to ensure that the victor was not a lunatic. I don't see Peeta in the morning. Cinna comes to me before dawn, gives me a simple shift to wear, and guides me to the roof. My final dressing and preparations will be done in the catacombs under the arena itself. A hovercraft appears out of thin air, just like that one in the woods did that day I saw the red-headed Avox girl captured. A ladder drops down. I place my hands and my feet on the lower rungs, and instantly, as if I'm frozen, some sort of current glues me to the ladder while I'm lifted safely inside. I expect the ladder to release me then, but I'm still stuck when a woman in a white coat approaches me carrying a syringe. "This is just your tracker, Katniss. The stiller you are, the more efficiently I can place it," she says. Still, I'm a statue, but that doesn't prevent me from feeling a sharp pain as the needle inserts the metal tracking device deep under my skin on the inside of my forearm. Now the game makers will always be able to trace my whereabouts in the arena. Wouldn't want to lose a tribute. As soon as the tracker's in place, the ladder releases me. The woman disappears, and Cinna is retrieved from the roof. An Avox boy comes in and directs us to a room where breakfast has been laid out. Despite the tension in my stomach, I eat as much as I can, although none of the delectable food makes any impression on me. I'm so nervous, I could be eating coal dust. The only thing that distracts me at all is the view from the windows as we sail over the city and then to the wilderness beyond. This is what birds see, only they are free and safe, the very opposite of me. The ride lasts about half an hour, before the windows black out, suggesting that we're nearing the arena. The hovercraft lands, and Cinna and I go back to the ladder, only this time it leads me down into a tube underground, into the catacombs that lie beneath the arena. We follow instructions to my destination, and a chamber is prepared for me. In the capital, they call it the launch room. In the districts, it's referred to as the stockyard, the place animals go before the slaughter. Everything is brand new. I will be the first and only tribute to use this launch room. The arenas are historic sites, preserved after the games, popular destinations for capital residents to visit, to vacation, uh, go for a month, rewatch the games, tour the catacombs, visit the sites where the deaths took place. You can even take part in reenactments. They say the food is excellent. I struggle to keep my breakfast down as I shower and clean my teeth. Cinna does my hair in a simple, trademark braid down my back. Then the clothes arrive, the same for every tribute. Cinna's had no say in my outfit and doesn't even know what'll be in the package, but he helps me dress in the undergarments. Simple tawny trousers, light green blouse, sturdy brown belt, and thin, hooded black jacket that falls to my thighs. The material in the jacket's designed to reflect body heat, except some cool nights, he says. The boots are worn over skin-tight socks. They're better than I could have hoped for. Soft leather, not unlike my ones at home. These have narrow, flexible rubber soles with treads, though good for running. I think I'm finished when Cinna pulls out the gold Mockingjay pin from his pocket. I'd completely forgotten about it. "Where did you get that?" I ask. "Off the green outfit you wore on the train," he says. I remember now, taking it off my mother's dress and pinning it to the skirt. "It's your district token, right?" I nod, and he fastens it to my shirt. It barely cleared the review board. Some thought the pin could be used as a weapon, giving you an unfair advantage, But eventually they let it through, says Cinna. They eliminated a ring from that District 1 girl, though. If you twisted the gemstone, a spike popped out. A poisoned one. She claimed to have no knowledge that the ring transformed, and there's no way to prove that she did, but she lost her token. There, you're all set. Move around, make sure everything feels comfortable. I walk, run in a circle, swing my arms about. Yeah, it's fine. Fits perfectly. And there's nothing to do but wait for the call, says Cinna. Unless you think you could eat any more. I turn down food, but accept a glass of water I take tiny sips of as we wait on the couch. I don't want to chew on my nails or lips, so I find myself gnawing on the inside of my cheek. It still hasn't fully healed from a few days ago. Soon the taste of blood fills my mouth. Nervousness seeps into terror as I anticipate what's to come. I could be dead, flat out dead in an hour, or less. My fingers obsessively trace the hard little lump on my forearm where the woman injected the tracking device. I press on it. Even though it hurts, I press on it so hard a small bruise begins to form. Do you want to talk, Katniss? Cinna asks. I shake my head, but after a moment I hold out my hand to him. Cinna encloses it in both of his, and this is how we sit until a pleasant female voice announces, "It's time to prepare for lunch." Still clenching one of Cinna's hands, I walk over and stand on the circular metal plate. Remember what Haymitch said, "Run, find water. The rest will follow," he says. I nod. And remember this, I'm not allowed to bet, but if I could, my money would be on you. Truly? I whisper. Truly, says Cinna. He leans down and kisses me on the forehead. Good luck, girl on fire. And then a glass cylinder is lowering around me, breaking our handhold, cutting him off from me. He taps his fingers under his chin, head held high. I lift my chin and stand as straight as I can. The cylinder begins to rise. For maybe 15 seconds, I'm in darkness, and then I can feel the metal plate pushing me out of the cylinder into the open air. For a moment, my eyes are dazzled by the bright sunlight, and I'm only conscious of a strong wind with the hopeful smell of pine trees. Then I hear that legendary announcer, Claudius Templesmith, and his voice booms all around me. Ladies and gentlemen, let the 74th Hunger Games begin. End of chapter 10. Hello, Nicole. How's your morning slash evening slash afternoon? Thanks. Welcome to the stream. I am just grand. Shattered after a full day of work. We had a wee special event in work and I had to help with some catering. Wee mites crawling over my screen. That's terrible when you get them, isn't it? Well, let's go on to chapter 11. 60 seconds. That's how long we're required to stand in our metal circles before the sound of a gong releases us. Step off before the minute is up and landmines blow your legs off. 60 seconds to take in the ring of tributes, all equidistant from the cornucopia. A giant golden horn shaped like a cone with a curved tail, the mouth of which is at least 7 meters tall, spilling over with things that will give us life here in the arena. Food containers of water. Oh, food containers of water. Weapons, medicine, garments, fire starters strewn around the cornucopia, and other supplies, their value decreasing the further they are from the horn. For instance, only a few steps from my feet lies a metre square of plastic. Certainly it could be used in some sort of downpour, but there in the mouth I can see a tent pack that would protect me from any sort of weather if I had the guts to go in and get it and fight for it with the other 23 tributes, which I have been instructed not to do. We're on a flat, open stretch of ground, a plain of hard, packed dirt. Behind the tributes, across from me, I can see nothing indicating either a steep downward slope or even a cliff. To my right lies a lake, to my left a black, sparse, piney woods. This is where Haymitch would want me to go, immediately. I hear his instructions in my head. Just clear out, put as much distance between you and the others as you can, and find a source of water. But it's tempting, so tempting, when I see the bounty waiting there before me, and I know if I don't get it, someone else will. That, the career tributes who will survive the bloodbath, will divide up most of the life-sustaining spoils. Something catches my eye. There, resting on a mound of blanket rolls, is a silver sheath of arrows and a bow already strung, just waiting to be engaged. That's mine, I think. That's meant for me. I'm fast. I can sprint faster than any of the girls in our school, although a couple can beat me in distance races. This is 45-meter length. This is what I'm built for. I know I can get it. I know I can reach it first. But then, where the weapon is, how quickly can I get out of there? By the time I've scrambled up the packs and grabbed weapons, others will have reached the horn, and one or two I might be able to pick off, but there's a dozen, and at close range they could take me down with spears or clubs, or their own powerful fists. Haymitch has never seen me run. Maybe if he had, he'd tell me to go for it, get the weapon, since that's the very weapon that might be my salvation. And I only see one bow in the whole pile. I know the minute must almost be up, and I'll have to decide what my strategy will be. Then to find myself positioning my feet to run, not away to the surrounding forest, but towards the pile, towards the bow. When suddenly I notice Peter. He's about 5 tributes to my right, quite a fair distance. Still, I can tell he's looking at me, and I think he might be shaking his head. But the sun's in my eyes, and while I'm puzzling over it, the gong rings out. I've missed it. I've missed my chance, because those extra couple of seconds I've lost, but I lost by not being ready. They're enough to change my mind about going in. My feet shuffle for a moment, confused at the direction my brain wants to take, and then I lunge forward, scoop up the sheet of plastic, the loaf of bread. The pickings are so small, and I'm so angry with Peter for distracting me, that I sprint in 20 metres to retrieve a bright orange backpack that could hold anything, because I can't stand leaving with virtually nothing. A boy, I think from District 9, reaches the pack at the same time I do, and for a brief time we grapple for it, and then he coughs, splattering my face with blood. I stagger away, repulsed by the warm, sticky spray, and the boy slips to the ground. That's when I see the knife in his back. Already other tributes have reached the cornucopia, and they are spreading out to attack. Yes, the girl from District 2, 10 metres away, running towards me, one hand clutching half a dozen knives. I've seen her throw in training. She never misses, and I'm her next target. All the general fear I've been feeling condenses into an immediate fear of this girl, this predator who might kill me in seconds. Adrenaline shoots through me, and I sling the pack over one shoulder and run full speed for the woods. I can hear the blade whizzing towards me, and I reflexively hike the pack up to protect my head. The blade lodges in the pack. Both straps on my shoulders now. I make for the trees. Somehow I know the girl will not pursue me, that she'll be drawn back into the cornucopia before the good stuff is gone. A grin crosses my face. Thanks for the knife, I think. At the edge of the woods, I turn for one instant to survey the field. About a dozen or so tributes are hacking away at one another at the horn. Several lie dead, already on the ground. Those who have taken flight are disappearing into the trees, or into the void opposite me. I continue running until the woods have hidden me from the other tributes, then slow into a steady jog, and I think I can maintain for a while. For the next few hours, I alternate between jogging and walking, putting as much distance as I can between myself and the competitors. I lost my bread during the struggle with the boy from District 9, but managed to stuff my plastic in my sleeve. So, as I walk, I fold it neatly and tuck it into a pocket. I also free the knife. It's a fine one with a long, sharp blade serrated near the handle, which will make it handy for sawing through things. I slide it into my belt. I don't dare stop to examine the contents of the pack yet. I just keep moving, pausing only to check for pursuers. I can go for a long time. I know that from my days in the woods, but I'll need water. That was Haymitch's second instruction. And since I sort of botched the first, I keep a sharp eye out for any sign of it. No luck. The woods begin to evolve, and the pines are intermixed with a variety of trees. Some I recognise, some are foreign to me. At one point, I hear a noise, pull out my knife, thinking I'll have to defend myself, but I've only startled a rabbit. Good to see you, I whisper. If there's one rabbit here, there could be hundreds just waiting to be snared. The ground slopes down. I don't particularly like this. Valleys make me feel trapped. I want to be high, like in the hills around District 12, where I can see my enemies approaching. But I've no choice but to keep going. Funny though, I don't feel too bad. The days of gorging myself have paid off. I've got staying power, and although I'm short on sleep, being in the woods is rejuvenating. I'm glad for the solitude, even though it's just an illusion, because I'm probably on screen right now. Not consistently, but off and on. There's so many deaths to show on the first day that a tribute trekking through the woods isn't much to look at. But they'll show me enough to let people know I'm alive, uninjured, and on the move. One of the heaviest days of betting is the opening, when the initial casualties come in. But that can't compare to what happens as the field begins to shrink to a handful of players. It's late afternoon when I begin to hear the cannons. Each shot represents a dead tribute. The fighting must have finally stopped at the cornucopia. They never collect the bloodbath bodies until the killers have dispersed. On opening day, they don't even fire the cannons until the initial fighting's over, because it's too hard to keep track of all the fatalities. I allow myself to pause, panting, as I count the shots. 1, 2, 3, on and on, until they reach 11. 11 dead in all, 13 left to play. My fingernails scrape at the dry blood the boy in District 9 coughed onto my face. He's gone, certainly. I wonder about Peter. Has he lasted through the day? I know in a few hours, when they project the dead's images into the sky for the rest of us to see. All of a sudden, I'm overwhelmed by the thought that Peter might already be lost, bled white, collected in the process of being transported back to the capital to be cleaned up, redressed, and shipped in a simple wooden box back to District 12, no longer here. Heading home. I try hard to remember if I saw him once the action started, but the last image I can conjure up is Peter shaking his head as the gong rang out. Maybe it's better if he's gone already. He had no confidence he would win, and I will not end up with that unpleasant task of killing him. Maybe it's better if he's out of this for good. I slump down next to my pack, exhausted. I need to go through it anyway before night falls. See what I have to work with. As I unhook the straps, I can feel it's sturdily made, although a rather unfortunate colour. This orange will practically glow in the dark. I made a mental note to camouflage it first thing tomorrow. I flip open the flap. What I want most, right at the moment, is water. Haymitch's directive to immediately find water was not arbitrary. I won't last long without it. For a few days, I'll be able to function with unpleasant symptoms of dehydration, but after that, I'll deteriorate into helplessness and be dead in a week. Tops. I carefully lay out the provisions: one thin black sleeping bag that reflects body heat, a pack of crackers, a pack of dried beef strips, a bottle of iodine, a box of wooden matches, a coil of wire, a pair of sunglasses, and a 2-litre plastic bottle with a cap for carrying water that's bone dry. No water. How hard would it have been for them to fill up the bottle? I become aware of the dryness in my mouth and throat. It cracks my lips. All this talk of water. I've been moving all day long. It's been hot. I've sweated a lot. I do this at home, but there's always streams to drink from, snow to melt, should it come to it. As I refill my pack, I have an awful thought. The lake, the one I saw while I was waiting for the gong to sound. What if that's the only water source in the arena? That way it'll guarantee to draw us into the fight. The lake is full, a day's journey from where I sit now. A much harder journey with nothing to drink. And then, even if I reach it, they're sure to be heavily guarded by some of the career tributes. I'm about to panic when I remember the rabbit I saw earlier today. It has to drink too. I just have to find out where. Twilight is closing in, and I'm ill at ease. The trees are far too thin for much concealment. The layer of pine needles that muffles my footsteps also makes tracking animals harder when I need their trails to find water. And I'm still heading downhill, deeper and deeper into the valley that seems endless. I'm hungry too, but I don't dare break into my precious store of crackers and beef yet. Instead, I take my knife and go to work on the pine tree, cutting away the outer bark, scraping off large handfuls of soft inner bark, and slowly chew the stuff as I walk along. After a week of the finest food in the world, it's a little hard to choke down, but I've eaten plenty of pine in my life. I'll adjust quickly. In another hour, it's clear I've got to find a place to camp. Night creatures are coming out. I can hear the occasional hoot or howl. My first clue that I'll be competing with natural predators for the rabbits. As to whether I'll be viewed as a source of food, it's too soon to tell. There could be any number of animals stalking me at the moment. But right now, I decide to make my fellow tributes a priority, and I'm sure many will come hunting through the night. Those who fought it out at the cornucopia will have food, an abundance of water from the lake, torches, flashlights, and weapons that they're itching to use. I can only hope I've travelled far and fast enough to be out of range. Before settling down, I take my wire and set 2 twitch-up snares in the brush. I know it's risky to be setting traps for food, but it'll go so fast out here, and I can't set snares on the run. Still, I walk another 5 minutes before making camp. I pick my tree carefully, a willow, not terribly tall, but set in a clump of other willows, offering concealment in those long, flowing tresses. I climb up, sticking to the longer branches, or stronger branches, close to the trunk, and find a steady fork for my bed. It takes some doing, but I arrange my sleeping bag in a relatively comfortable manner and place my backpack at the foot of the bag, then slide in after it. As a precaution, I remove my belt, loop it all the way around the branch and my sleeping bag, and fasten it to my waist. Now if I roll over in the day, or in my sleep, I won't go crashing to the ground. I'm small enough to tuck in the top of the bag over my head, but I put on my hood as well. As night falls, the air is cooling quickly. Despite the risk I took in getting the backpack, I know now it was the right choice. This sleeping bag, radiating back and preserving my body heat, is invaluable. I'm sure there'll be several other tributes whose biggest concern right now is how to stay warm, whereas I may actually be able to get a few hours of sleep, if only I wasn't so thirsty. Night has just come when I hear the anthem that precedes the death recap. Through the branches, I can see the seal of the capital, which appears to be floating in the sky. I'm actually viewing another screen, an enormous one that's transported by one of their disappearing hovercrafts. The anthem fades out and the sky goes dark for a moment. At home, we would be watching the full coverage of each and every killing. But that's thought to give an unfair advantage to the living tributes. For instance, if I got my hand on a bow and shot someone, my secret would be revealed to all. No, here in the arena, we're all on the same photographs they showed us when televising our training scores. Simple headshots. But now, instead of scores, they post only district numbers. I take a deep breath as the faces of the 11 dead tributes begin to tick them off one by one in my fingers. The first appears to be a girl from District 3. That means the career tributes from 1 and 2 have all survived. No surprise there. Then the boy from District 4. I didn't expect that one. Usually all careers make it through the first day. The boy from District 5. I guess the fox-faced girl made it. Both tributes from District 6 and 7. The boy from District 8. Both from 9. Yes, there's the boy who I fought for a backpack. I've run through my fingers. Only one more dead tribute to go. Is it PETA? No, there's a girl from District 10. That's it. The capital seal is back, and with a final musical flourish, then darkness, and the sounds of the forest resume. I'm relieved PETA's alive. I tell myself again, if I get killed, his winning will benefit my mother and Prim the most. This is what I tell myself to explain the conflicting emotions that arise when I think of PETA. The gratitude that he gave me an edge by professing his love for me during the interview, the anger at his superiority on the roof, the dread that we may come face to face at any moment in the arena. 11 dead, but none from District 12. I try to work out who's left. 5 career tributes, Foxface, Thresh and Rue. So she made it through the first day after all. I can't help but feeling glad. That made 10 of us. The other 3 I'll figure out tomorrow. Now, even when it's dark, and I have travelled far, I'm nestling high in this tree. I must try and rest. I haven't really slept in 2 days, and then there's been that long journey into the arena. Slowly, I allow my muscles to relax, my eyes to close. The last thing I think of is, it's lucky I don't snore. Snap! The sound of a breaking branch wakes me. How long have I been asleep? 4 hours? 5? The tip of my nose is icy cold. Snap, snap. What's going on? Is this not the sound of a branch under someone's foot? But the sharp crack is one coming from a tree. Snap, snap. I judge it to be several hundred meters to my right. Slowly, noiselessly, I turn myself in that direction. For a few minutes, there's nothing but blackness and some scuffling. Then I see a spark, and a small fire begins to bloom. A pair of hands warms over the flames, but I can't make out more than that. I have to bite my lip not to scream every foul name I know at the fire starter. What are they thinking? A fire lit just at nightfall would have been one thing. Those who battled at the cornucopia with their superior strength and surplus of supplies, they wouldn't possibly have been near enough to spot the flames then. But now they've probably been combing the woods for hours looking for victims. You may as well be waving a flag and shouting, "Come and get me." And here I am, a stone's throw from the biggest idiot in the games. strapped in a tree, not daring to flee since my general location has just been broadcast to any killer who cares. I mean, I know it's cold out here and not everyone has a sleeping bag, but then grit your teeth and stick it out till dawn. I lie smouldering in my bag for the next couple of hours, really thinking that if I get out of this tree, I won't have at the least problem taking out my new neighbour. My instinct has been to flee, not fight, but obviously this person's a hazard. Stupid people are dangerous, and this one probably doesn't have much in the way of weapons, while I have this excellent knife. The sky is still dark, but I can feel the first signs of dawn approaching. I'm beginning to think we, meaning the person whose death I'm now devising, and we might actually have gone unnoticed. Then I hear it. Several pairs of feet breaking into a run. The fire starter must have dozed off. They're on her before she can escape. I know it's a girl now. I can tell by the pleading, the agonized scream that follows. Then there's laughter and congratulations from several voices. Someone cries out, 12 down, 11 to go, which gets an appreciative round of hoots. So, they're fighting in a pack. I'm not really surprised. Often alliances are formed in the early stages of the games. The strong bond together and hunt down the weak. Then, when the tension becomes too great, they begin to turn on one another. I don't have to wonder too hard who's made this alliance. It'll be the remaining career tributes from Districts 1 and 2, and 4. 2 boys, 3 girls, the ones who lunched together. For a moment, I hear them checking the girl for supplies. I can tell by their comments they found nothing good. I wonder if the victim is Rue, but I quickly dismiss the thought. She's much too bright to be building a fire like that. Better clear out so they can get the body before it starts stinking. I'm almost certain that's the British boy from District 2. There are murmurs of assent, and then, to my horror, I hear the pack heading towards me. Do they not know I'm here? How could they? I'm well concealed in this clump of trees, but still, at least the sun stays down. Then my black sleeping bag will turn from camouflage into trouble. If they just keep moving, they'll pass by me and be gone in a minute. But the careers stop in the clearing about 10 metres from my tree. They have a flashlight, torches, and I can see an arm they hear. A bit there, through the breaks in the branches. I turn to stone, not daring to even breathe. Have they spotted me? No, not yet. I can tell from their words their minds are elsewhere. Shouldn't we have heard the cannon by now? I'd say yes. Nothing to prevent them from coming in immediately. Unless she isn't dead. She's dead. I struck her myself. Then where's the cannon? Someone should go back, make sure the job's done. Yeah. We don't want to have to track her down twice. I said she's dead. An argument breaks out over um, until one of the tributes silence the others. We're wasting time. I'll go finish her and let's move on. I almost fall out of the tree. The voice belongs to Peter. End of chapter 11. Absolutely shattered. Thanks for listening. I'll get this up on YouTube ASAP. The eagle-eyed amongst you may have noticed I did upload a few chapters of Marked, but it's been a while since I've read Marked. Let's see, does that have a wee date on it? Just out of curiosity, because and it's funny how quickly things change. 2007, my goodness. There's some very old language in it, and I was reading it and I was thinking, do I leave it up? But I thought, look, we'll mark it private for now. And just to be on the safe side, my job's not worth losing. I probably wouldn't, but how these things go. I mean, there's nothing majorly serious in those chapters, nothing like, you know, nothing crazy, but just I thought, you know what, we'll play it safe. We'll play it safe with these ones and get going with that. Friday tomorrow. Again, if I can be bothered, you know what Friday night's like. Um, we'll be doing more of Harry Potter. Not too long left on the Half-Blood Prince. I'll finish that off, and then I don't know. I'm thinking either the fourth or the third book. Those are two of my favourites in the series. We'll do all of them. Doesn't need to be in any particular order. Maybe I should do it in order. Make a poll? No. No, I'm far too technologically inept to be doing polls. I don't know. If you have any strong feelings one way or another, put a comment on YouTube. Otherwise, I don't know, we'll maybe start with three, four. We'll see. But no, thanks again for listening. We'll do more Hunger Games, maybe on Saturday as well. Do Harry and Hunger Games on Saturday. And see you then.